Didn't hear anything from Lloyd on the public works licensing people. Help I offered. Hello and welcome to the Joint School District 171 April 21st board meeting. Appreciate you all being here. Carmen, you get a roll call?
Yeah, trustee Daniels. Trustee Kepke. Here. Trustee McIntosh.
Here.
Trustee Craig.
Here.
Trustee St. Germain.
Here. Thank you. Rise and join me, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All that serve. Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda amendments.
I think there's a highlighted, maybe a new hire that was added late that's highlighted, but nothing on the main agenda.
That is highlighted in the new hire separation.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Do we want to highlight? Do we accept
Like
the
to-
amendment?
Yeah, can I restate my? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the amendment of an added new hire name added to the list as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Have we had a chance to digest the meeting minutes from March 17th?
I'll make a motion to approve the March 17th regular board meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, Carmen. Do you, I'll sign those too if you have them.
No, I'll get them to you.
Consent agenda consisting of the bills and financial reports. We'll get a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
I will second.
Any discussion?
More money than we're spending, coming in and coming out. So
Yeah,
Good.
and just the budget is the summary and the summary is the budget. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Reports and recognitions. Any appreciations?
I would like to point out Robin Bonner at the Peck Elementary. It looks like she continues to get grants for their programs that she does.
Mhm.
And then congratulate Corey Pinkew on becoming Timberline's principal.
yes. Few highlights from
After we
the,
accept the new hires and separations, right?
yes.
Or did we not do that yet? Oh,
Not yet. We'll get there.
I guess that was the amended,
It's still appropriate.
yes, agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
All got a few shout outs for the Orofino Junior Senior High School. Jessica Stafford, dedicated paraprofessional, and I like that they just put, what is a great job she's doing, and we are lucky to have her. She's a cool gal. Jennifer Johnson, one of the new teachers this year, has been a great addition to the team, dedicated to the success of the middle school students, getting them prepared for ISATs. And Susan Cunnington, she put on the knowledgeable for students, and also as an active member in the PLC Guiding Coalition. And they're lucky to have her. And these are two things that we've been talking about in our work session. So it's good to see that they align with the recognition that these staff members are getting. So we appreciate them.
Yeah, they're ahead of their time.
Absolutely.
It's great. I wanted to make a shout out to IDYCA for continuing on when we had no power. It's plenty light out and it's warm out, and I appreciate that you kept going. Okay. Committee reports.
Didn't have any questions. I didn't get through all of the maintenance. Budgeting's becoming an issue.
Mhm. Yeah, your roof at Orofino Elementary is problems causing. And I honestly, I didn't have time to look at the 10-year plan to see where it fit on our 10-year plan. Is Roy on?
I think so. It's gonna have to change. The order will have to
Mhm.
change, it'll
Right.
become, it'll be more important than the eaves, we shouldn't be doing the eaves because the roof is contributing to the damage of the
Mhm.
eaves, so. And that's frustrating, it wasn't long ago we did those, roofs. Roy and Brittany and I were talking about it today and looking at the different types of membranes that they use and why this one would be wore out so fast, but it's kind of the balance between buying the differences in those two main materials. One is affordable and doesn't last very long. This is common sense, right? The other is not very affordable and lasts a long time. And we bought the affordable one. We did. And so we have a lot of problems with it already, which also means that many of our other facilities are going to be right behind,
Right.
likely.
Because it's similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Worst
timing of
roof
it.
design on the planet is a flat roof.
No, I know.
But Roy, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, do you know where OES is at on the 10-year plan?
So the roof is not on our 10-year plan. It was something that we didn't plan on doing for a very long time, until we realized the situation at hand. I don't have too much information on it right now. I met with our roof guy last week. And just what we were talking about was, how poor a shape it is in, but he's gonna write us out an extensive, what we're really looking at, what the situation is, what our couple of options are. He's gonna quote it out for us. If there is a opportunity for repair versus replacement. And he's also going to quote it out like per wing, so not just one big job. So I'll have a lot more information from you here in the next couple days once I get his report back.
Could
Okay.
we, logistically, could we think about phases? Is it leaking in one place more than another?
Yeah, that's why he's quoting it out for us in like the wings. We have 3 wings off of that elementary school, so he's going to quote them out separately, and he's grading them for us in worst to best shape, so we know where to start. But
Okay.
basically, what we have going on is there's a million pinholes in the material up there. So when we're chasing leaks in that building, you might, it's penetrating through the exterior membrane, and it's making it to a truss line, and we're following leaks and we're finding them 30 feet away where they're finally able to make it into the building. So it's been challenging.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
Well, that's flat roof for you.
We'll need
Yeah.
roof repairs. Yep.
When we get some of that follow-up information, will you
Mhm.
email it to us?
Well,
Okay, and then we had talked a little bit about public works licensing and the limitations that was the impacts it was potentially having on pricing. Do we know any more about that?
Yeah, so we've reached out to a couple of different people, and we've come to the conclusion that we can do work with our regular contractors if the job is under 100,000. Public works for anything above that. What our understanding was when we got into this 10-year facility money was that everyone that we use was going to have a public works, but we've cleared that up where it's $100,000 now. per state, it's 100 grand. Our policy is 50,000. So we're still gonna follow our policy at the 50,000 guideline, but for the state, it is 100.
We may want to be sure on that because
We are.
it is state, okay. all right.
Yeah, that's, we did our own research, then contacted our attorney and he came back with, oh, I think it's 10,000. I'm like, I don't think so. I, tactfully tried to ask him and then he's like, well, I could research it more if you like. I said, yes, please. He did. And he came back with it and verified that 100,000 is the limit.
Yep, I knew that, but ours at 50. I think we need to tier to the state because it's state money.
We could, are you saying we should change our policy? Is that what you're
I
suggesting?
think we might need
Oh,
to.
okay. We can, for
to-
sure.
I think we might need to align. And just because if we do
Yeah, that's true.
if we hire anybody we want at 50,000 and then we turn out it's 100,000, we don't want to. We want to be careful on that. But that's good news.
I do feel like that's protecting us more though. We're on the cautious end of it at 50 versus 100. So that's also something else to take into consideration.
Yeah, but what are the legalities?
Maybe I'm
of-
hearing you backwards. Maybe I'm hearing
Says,
you
hey,
backwards.
So what Roy's
They
saying is
require
that
more.
our policy says if the job is 50 or over, we will use a public works license contractor. The state law says 100 or over. So we're
Oh, I'm hearing it backwards. Thank you.
state.
Okay. I needed that
And we could-
graphic.
And we could match it if we wanted to.
Okay.
So you can let me know if you want to reevaluate that policy. I can put it on the policy tracker and we can talk about it.
I think it would be good from the standpoint of if we're being overly cautious and it's impacting our ability to spread our maintenance dollars further, it might be worth a conversation.
Okay.
I just think we definitely want to be in alignment with the state
For sure.
guidance.
It did.
Yeah. 5 years or so, because I remember the state and the prosecuting attorney sent out a message to all, I was at economic development then, and it was, here's the new. Mhm.
And I believe that is a change this year. I believe it was 50,000 statewide as of last year. So maybe that's why we're just behind a little bit.
Okay. All right, well, bummer for Orofino Elementary, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, and it's April. Yeah, which is helping the garden, right? Too bad we couldn't funnel all that into a container system into the garden, right? Okay. Is Cody online?
I believe so.
Cody, I was wondering about, and did you respond to this in my questions? About what are some of the impacts that the manual, change of the manual at the state level is having for SPED programs that may be impacting us? Is there anything we need to be aware of?
I don't think so at this time. Really, it's more, they're just changing verbiage in the manual. There are a few changes that are coming down the pike, but right now they haven't even been it's still at the public information stage. It hasn't been through the State Board of Education yet or become law yet. So we're just kind of at the beginning stages of it, but mostly it's just cleanup of language. Kind of like we review our district policies and clean up language where it's clearer. That's what they're doing with the manual.
Okay, I really appreciate your level of engagement. I don't have time to read it and wouldn't know what I was reading maybe, so I appreciate that.
No problem.
Oh, the health fair, was that just the elementary school of Orofino, or does it include all elementary students within the district?
Just the way.
Oh, okay.
I think we should probably,
Has it been thought about expanding that so that it's a district-wide event? It seemed cool. It sounded cool. It sounded cool.
We invite Texas Cavendish,
Mhm.
and they have come in the past to kind of just tell them what else they have going on
Mm.
at the time that it takes place. We have never expanded it to everyone or discuss that.
I wonder conceptually if it makes sense to think about having, you organize it all? Your team organizes it all?
Our team.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything like that at Timberline?
We've had similar things in the past. I don't think we have an ongoing, consistent health fair. It's been sporadic, I would say.
We do a passion day at Timberline. They do passion day.
Yeah, they do that twice a year.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. And then, so we have a bit of patron excitement around band.
Yeah, I was gonna say we should probably talk about that since we've gotten concerns about it.
And I think that right now we're in a stage of gathering information and input as we prepare for programmatic budgeting, right?
Yeah, I just think we should acknowledge that we've gotten feedback already about that.
So that's my acknowledgement, I think, on
Yeah.
that.
Is that in your board report, Denise?
The changing schedule.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is
So,
that
ask-
finalized?
It's in our board report, so
Right.
if you want to ask her questions about that, you can.
Yeah, that's why, is it a final decision that's,
It is ours unless we're told no. Want me to come up?
yeah,
Yeah,
probably
maybe
just
you could
because there's
describe
already
it
been
for
some
us.
inquiries about it, so I think it would be good to speak to it.
So this initially came on our radar. We convened a committee of about 13 teachers at the elementary school to work on our master schedule with some specific guidelines to make sure that we are being conscious of the academic needs of students. And so with that in mind, the recommendation was made that we do some shifting with the schedule, which then led us to need to talk to Becca about some of the things with band. One of the biggest concerns is that those sixth grade students are losing about a minimum of 100 hours, 100 minutes a week of instructional time with the transportation and the transition around it. And it limits what we can do with those students. We are never in favor of narrowing programs. I think it's fantastic if we can offer a band program. But in a district like ours, with resources being what they are, we have to be realistic about how effective our programs can be. And at this point in time, with transporting students and the need to be able to adjust schedules so that we can be very intentional and focused with instruction, intervention, and enrichment, that decision was made collaboratively between Becca and I.
How many students are enrolled in the sixth grade band?
Right now, there's about 20.
Oh, wow.
Last year, I believe we were about 24, and that there's been a steady decline. It is a year-long program, and students have the opportunity to drop at semester. That being said, the go-on rate after sixth grade, usually maybe 50% of what goes in sixth grade goes on in seventh grade. So in my mind, I'm thinking of, 10 students who are really moving on into middle school music versus the needs of 60 students, and consistency in schedules and routines and, intentional academic offering.
So does the seventh grade band instruction, then is the plan to shift that to more of what they would have maybe got in sixth grade because they're going to miss out on some of that foundational
Becca
pieces?
would have to speak to what that could look like, but I will say the intention is not to do away with music at all. Our hope was that our music teacher could work collaboratively with the middle school music teacher and develop a sixth grade program that maybe would include reading music, doing some of the things that would help prepare sixth graders that are interested to move into a band program in seventh grade when it's more feasible for them to access it.
So I saw there are two things. There's band and then there's music. So we're not dropping music. We're
No,
considering.
absolutely not.
Okay. And so what is can you help me understand the difference?
So in band, they're actually playing instruments. In music, they aren't. They're just learning a little bit about the history of music. They're engaging in instruction around music itself without actually playing instruments. Mrs. Kessinger does get creative, and she does teach them a little bit of basic note reading, and they use some creative tools for instruments. But we don't have a designated band room on our campus, so playing instruments on our campus would be pretty disruptive to the rest of the building.
Could it
So
be
they're
pivoted?
transported up to the two.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, I don't know what grade I was in, but beginning to learn to read music, and we played recorders.
Mhm.
So it wasn't real loud. Is
Yeah,
there a way to pivot the music class into something of a resource like that where it was mixed?
Yeah.
So that there was some sort of taking that next step into music and playing and the artistic aspect of it, without, I understand the transportation costs and the loss to academia, which that's what we're about, right? But also I'm wondering if there's a way, because you mentioned that we're going to retain the music class and we have a music teacher.
yes.
Is there a way to pivot that to include a little bit of
Yes, for sure. That would be our intent. Like I said, we don't want to narrow programs if we don't have to, but we do want to make sure that we're examining the effectiveness and being as intentional as we can
Mhm.
with what we're doing. And over the last few years, the loss of instructional time's been pretty glaring, and the need to kind of do something with that is there.
Will they still have a choice at the end of the day, or is this, or it'll just be that music instruction that they're already getting is going to shift what that looks like?
Yes, that's what it'll look like. Yeah, so it'll just be woven into the music opportunities in the schedule that are already there.
And we know the impacts because of the data around that grades performance, and the 100 minutes that are being lost are in a specific class or field, or
Well, not necessarily. Basically, what's happening is sixth grade is they take a break at 1:55. At 2:10, they come in and they start preparing for the end of their day. At 2:30, they transition to the buses and they bus up to the high school for band. So all of that time from 2:10 till basically 2:40 is just sort of lost instructional time every day. So what we would like to do is be able to rework our schedule so that we've got some intentionality in what we're doing with that time.
so for those students, it was an end of the day activity.
Yeah, we toyed with the idea of placing it somewhere else in the schedule if we put it on the beginning of the
That
day.
makes it worse.
Yeah. And middle of the day, we've got transitioning to and from.
Right.
So that increases the amount of time we lose with those students.
The sixth graders that are at the junior, senior high school for that band at the end of the day, do they get on their bus that takes them home? So they're not having to go back to
Right.
or elementary school.
And I mean, I know the answer, but just for clarity purposes, what are the other students doing while those students are at band?
The other students are in their specials while the other students are in band class. The other students don't experience that transition time. They're still with their teachers, but because it's such a small chunk and the teachers don't want to do anything significant with instruction when the band kids are gone, that time, that little chunk of time becomes maybe some goal setting time or some catch up on homework time for the students that remain on the campus. So we would just like to be more intentional with what we're doing.
That's
That's
a
fine.
special. A special is a nothing?
No, their specials time is either PE, music, art, or time in the library.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's instruction around those other content areas.
So it's an elective.
An elective, sure,
Thank you. Okay,
except
that makes
it's
sense.
not an
Yeah.
elective for them. They all
Right,
have
right,
to
but-
participate.
But yeah,
Yeah,
okay, all right. And so not every student has to have PE?
every student does, and they do. We structure the band schedule so that right now we've got 2 sixth grade classes. So we've got them going to they only go to band so one class goes on Monday, the other class goes on Tuesday. Both classes go on Wednesday and Thursday together. So they're still able to be on campus for their PE class one day a week. If that makes sense.
Yes.
We're not in a position to be able to offer PE every day to all of our students. So they all get those opportunities on a rotating schedule.
And are there private resources available for band instruction for young aged people? Do we know? Oh, Lewiston.
We used to be a retired piano teacher, but she retired.
Well, if we're gonna pivot away from senior projects and move to an apprenticeship, maybe we could get a high schooler that wants to apprentice in music instruction and become a band instructor.
And build a band room at the elementary school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you
We
still
won't-
need the
You need a
room.
contractor
Yeah,
that's an
yeah.
apprentice in contracting to build that band room also.
Yeah.
While you're at it, I could use a lunchroom that doesn't double as a gym.
Right, yeah, a lot of, yeah, what's the priorities? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, one more, when are we shifting this now? Are we doing this at the end of the year?
This will start in the fall with the new school year. We wanted to be thoughtful about the decision and make it
Sure.
far enough ahead of time that we can communicate to the fifth grade parents that we'd be making this change starting in the fall.
I think it's important just to have that follow-up piece that if the seventh grade band is also going to pivot their instruction also. I think that piece is going to be important. Some of the concerns we're hearing is that's a foundational piece to step into. So making sure that even though we're shifting the instruction at the elementary level, it's not going to be the same as having an instrument in your hand, right? So making sure that seventh grade instruction is also pivoting to kind of align.
Yeah, so when Denise approached me with this, we have to look at both of our master schedules with a kind of a problem-solving mindset because the instructional time that she speaks to is a crucial part of this, but it also the logistical pieces on my end with sixth grade band, we've had some of our own challenges with transporting and bringing younger students into an older school and some of those pieces. But I understand the foundational piece of that music part is key. One of the things that we actually tried this year is we had sixth grade band, but some of the students that weren't as successful in sixth grade band or had never taken a music class before actually took beginning band. And so they were in the sixth grade class, which kind of opened my mind to the possibility of offering what's considered beginning band as a part of my master's schedule now, because we don't have sixth grade. My initial thoughts are that maybe we can even open that up to 7-9. So anybody could have access to learning music, even if they didn't do it as a middle schooler, which would give them access to high school band, which right now, if you didn't take sixth grade band, you don't go into middle school band because you haven't read music, then you can't get into high school band. So the music pipeline is completely closed to you. Whereas now that we don't have sixth grade band, if we offer beginning band, like I said, 7-9, anybody within that age frame could learn to read music and use an instrument and potentially join high school band on track with their peers. So
I think that's although we're eliminating a program, we're really opening it up more. And I think that's the piece that I want to focus on. Yeah. Is if we can open that up to 7-9, then we're really expanding those services or
and giving
those
everybody
opportunities.
and access to like learning music and seeing and trying it out. One of the concerns is that when they get to seventh grade, there's such a bevy of options that like they don't go straight towards band, and the way to hook them is to get them in sixth grade. But the reality is too, a lot of those kids are still figuring out what they like, and they may take life skills their seventh grade year and go, "Ooh, I don't love life skills. I'm going to go into band my eighth grade year." And so having that beginning band allows them to be in that group that's, versatile with learning music. And my thought process on it too is we actually might see an increase in numbers of students taking that beginning band course as seventh grade, because dissimilar to Denise's situation in which anybody who wants to take band can take band, we have set elective numbers. So I'm like, I'm sorry, seventh grade art is full. Would you like to take band? Or this, or life skills? And they might be like, oh, I like band better than life skills. So you might actually be able to see the numbers of your seventh grade students increase, in addition to those eighth grade and ninth grade kids who didn't get to take it before. So there's some creative ways that we can approach it that maintains the promotion of music without nullifying her opportunities to have instructional freedom and flexibility. Similarly with me, cross-building scheduling is challenging, right? Because if I had sixth grade band at the end of the day, that teacher could only teach that. It doesn't matter what anybody else's preps were. It doesn't matter if we needed to do this, that, or the other. It had to be there because the bus was coming. We've also had similar challenges with if the music teacher is not in attendance at school that day, we're finding a sub for sixth grade band, which is difficult because it ends up being almost a babysitting gig, which is a lot of subbing and stuff is because they don't have any music background. There's not a lot for them to do. So it solves a couple of different logistical challenges, but we have some proactive ideas on how to make it better. So
I think the other part of it is messaging that what are we going to do to fill that academic time constructively and not a library hour. Yeah, so that'll be fun to watch. Thank you, ladies. Okay, any other questions about building or program reports?
Technology. Want to talk about losing our funding through Boise State. Just give us an idea of what your thoughts are. You said you're exploring some options.
Before Russell starts talking, I also asked Russell to give you a little demo of a tool that he's shared with us. So just FYI.
Oh, cool.
You can do that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure where that's going to go. The Cyberdome project, they were trying to secure consistent funding to keep that going. And I kind of got the feeling that some of the cutbacks that the legislature did this year made it so that they just didn't have any pots to pull out of. They hadn't secured specific funding. And so I think that the funding pots that made it work dried up and
Gotcha.
they're just like, we can't continue. So they sent out that letter. It does appear that I'm not sure what those other options are going to be. Part of that moved to, I believe it was IT services at the state level. So there might be something there. And then one of the founders of the Cyberdome project has also got some sort of private thing he's doing that maybe looks something like Cyberdome that's still a student training opportunity. So I think we're just going to kind of keep our finger on the pulse and see what we can do. The nice thing about Cyberdome is it actually would be a fairly expensive service for us to purchase. But because it was a training opportunity for students, we had a lot of industry buy-in to facilitate it for the training. And so hopefully there'll be some avenue that will continue that in some form.
Gotcha.
I don't think we have it just yet. It's fairly recent, the change. So I think we're still scrambling to see what's going to fall out. But for us as a district, I want to maintain something of the service that we've had because,
Right.
It makes more work, but it's because we see things that are going on and we can be proactive about, I had one today that was India IP that was hitting skyward, basically just looking for holes. And what we do when we get those is we just block it. Like we won't have trouble from that IP again because they can't get in.
Right.
Who are the industry sponsors?
Stellar Cyber and Sophos are two of them that I know of. And I'm not sure who the appliance that we have in the network is a Stellar Cyber appliance. So it would be
Specific to cybersecurity then?
yes. And so basically what it's doing is looking at all of the traffic, both in and out of our network, but also across our network. And so if it sees two machines on the inside doing something suspicious, it'll alert on that as well. So it's it to me is a valuable resource that we don't have any other way to see that.
Okay. You gonna show and tell?
Show and tell.
Yeah.
Russell always has cool things to show us.
Technology. stuff.
Sometimes tell us.
Sometimes it's scary.
If it can't work, then it's going to kind of backfire. Use the powers for good, right?
we go. So this is it's called Notebook LM. It's a Google service. It will be pretty soon being added to the core services. So we may even be able to roll this out for student use. And I mentioned the Gemini, I'm sorry, Mike here. So anyway.
Projection.
Point it over here. So what Notebook LM is it's a Google's Gemini AI engine, but you supply the data source. So in this particular instance, I just took the policy, the whole policy manual, and chucked it in here as the information source. And it builds a prompt for you. And you can do this with any information that you would want to learn from. The goal of Notebook LM is to be a notebook that you would actually put information into, and then the AI query engine on top of that to help you learn the information or to get the high points out of the information. So one way this has been used, I know the IDLA has used this and dumped most of the legislative action from this year into one, and then asked it what this means for IDLA.
Oh, very cool.
So what I did is super simple, threw the policy in and you can query the policy. So when you ask this a question down here, like what about hats? And it will query the policy and it'll tell you about hats. Everywhere policy shows up, and then it will reference that in with the policy. So, while hats may not be the most interesting subject, you can do this with any subject that's addressed in our policy.
Yeah.
Like procurement spending limits. So who is this going to be available to right now?
Right now, it's available to the administrative staff. I'm going to share it with you and you'll have it available.
Okay.
It can be shared with, at this point, it can be shared with anyone who has a domain, one of our domain email address or accounts. With this version, we can't share it outside. If we did Notebook Plus, I believe we could share it to anybody.
I was just thinking about negotiations and policy alignment.
Yeah, so it could be shared with, again, anybody in the domain. Mhm. So it's really a pretty useful tool, I think. I think these are the kinds of things that we're going to see, the AI that we've seen is just kind of like just the tip of the iceberg of what really it can be used for that's really valuable. And this is, to me, is one of them. I think you can put about 300 sources in here if you wanted to.
Nice.
Wow.
You could ask it to compare our policy to Idaho code relative to public works licensing and have those two, pieces.
Would you have to put it in there or does it go get it?
You put it in there.
You put it in.
Can it go get it?
I don't know. I haven't tried that.
I don't think
I mean, I love the summary that you provided, but I would love to see its version of the legislative impacts.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to do that.
I think that's where I did it. I did it in some format like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just trying to look and see if I could see chats.
Another thing that this will do that, and again, it probably doesn't have as much to do with this, though you might be able to lead it. It will do an audio overview. And Jason generated one of those. I listened to like the first 3 minutes of it. It actually would be interesting to listen to the whole thing because it basically takes the policy and makes like a talk show and it talks through the most important things in the policy. And it's like pretty much dead on. Like it is like better than we would do. Yeah. Just talking about policy. Well, this board, here's how the board operates and here are the things they look at. And
One person asks the other person questions. It's
Scary.
It's crazy.
Well, but a good tool for new board members, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's a great tool for that. And I think
You're not
over
spelling me on that part.
outside
I'm
the
not
board
a fan
for
of it.
students, I mean, this is what students need to realize is that, what they've seen immediately is I can use AI to cheat.
Right.
And it's like, well, the only one that cheats is yourself. You can also use AI to learn. And we can learn more specifically to our learning needs, then, well, it'd be like having a tutor. Would close, right? A tutor can look at what they can give you information and then you ask questions and the tutor can revise that information and give you more information. And that's what non-interactive sources can't do that, but AI can do that very well. And so that's why I think this is just such a game-changing technology, because you can put the information in. If you're taking a statistics class, you can put that in there and say, hey, tell me about this concept, demonstrate this concept, give me a question with this. Why is my answer wrong? You know, that kind of thing.
So, question, non-techie, way over the top techie, what value do you see in this for our institution?
Super valuable. I already played it, and that's
Say I've used it already. And I'm not saying. We're so.
I mean, you've used it, but what is the value?
I think the value is efficiency. You know, being able to take a large amount of work and consolidate it and summarize it, and, you know, having to compare documents is really helpful too. If you're taking two things that you're not trying to summarize in one, it's super helpful because it kind of takes that process and narrows it down for you. You know,
So you're inputting, excuse me, you're inputting,
Yeah.
in addition, there's more than just policy in
Yeah, a
there.
big piece of what we do obviously is evaluating teachers, and the Danielson framework is extensive and quite in depth. So you could have it break down pieces, like finding specific qualities, and when you're doing an evaluation, really have that used to inform your practice, and that can be fairly tedious to be digging through a book and finding which component does this align with, and it will do that work for you.
Nice.
Super helpful.
Okay.
I like efficiency.
As long as it's, yeah.
Yeah.
And accuracy, and especially when you control the sources, you know, you just put in there state code, board rules, district policy, you know, and then ask a specific question or whatever, you know, but controlling the resources.
Well,
Yes.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So what happens if the policy changed? Do you have to go in and change this one specific policy, or do you just upload the newest version every year?
I would just chuck the new document in it.
Okay, so it's not linked to a live.
No, you load the document into it. I actually downloaded our PDF and threw it in here, and
Okay.
that's what it's using as a source. So-
It won't conflict. You can-
If we were to ask a question like.
It's only as good as the source.
Right, I would
probably-
say as policy change that you could, I haven't messed with this, if you can delete the sources out, you could just build a new one. That would be one option. If you couldn't delete the sources, you would actually have two sources, and it could probably contrast those for you and show you where the policy has changed. And this policy, we had this, now we've updated that policy with the state. You know, it just kind of depends on how much in the weeds you'd want to get, but certainly what you would want to do is just update the new policy. So it's drawing on that, either delete the old one out of it, which I would assume there's a way to do that. Or,
I think it'd be super helpful. I think we've got the new teachers and new cadre as well. So there's a lot of training involved. And so there's the thing where they could literally type up some suggestions on how to handle certain situations. It will tell you what's required and what options are there to help you find more solutions.
Handbooks.
yeah, so one of the ways that IDLA is putting this into use that we're going to see, probably the first place our students are going to see this will be the help system in IDLA, because they're actually now designing their help system not for people, but for AI, because the idea is the front end on it is going to be AI driven. So instead of looking through frequently asked questions, you just type in your query, boom, it's drawing on all the support tickets, in fact, they built the back end to do this using AI that uses their support tickets and builds all the database to make a query based AI engine for support.
Question? Is there a fee associated with this?
Not with this
Licensure?
version. If we go to LM Plus, if we had needs for that, there is a fee, an annual fee for that. And it can be done on a per user basis. It is
licensure.
licensed out as a per user basis.
Okay, so my next question, which would be comparing, what is the value of this compared to the Cyberdome? It is not a valid question. So-
No, it's an entirely different
process.
tool.
Oh, I know that, but
Yeah,
money.
the bad guys
money-wise,
are using this to
I-
attack us.
No, I understand that, but I'm just thinking about resource allocation.
Right.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, at this point, I don't see a real compelling reason to use or to spend more money on, and the expenditure isn't, it's I think it's $216 a year per user. So it's not huge. It's probably not something that in our budget right now that we would license to everybody, but to have, like, if we wanted to make a public policy query, that would only be licensing one instance to do that. So $216 a year, we could probably do that if it, you know, if that would accommodate that need. So you know, I think it's there, it's affordable. I really think it's going to become more affordable as the AI tools become more common
Right.
and as as it's more efficient. And the Notebook LM is going to be, it's on Google's roadmap to become a core service, which means then we could open it up to probably, I suspect they'll do the same as Gemini. They'll do 13 plus, so we can drop it down to 7th grade and make this available to students as well. With those data safeguards that keep the data inside and we can monitor the questions and everything that goes on in it is in Vault. So if we need to review it, we can see it, those kinds of things. And that's really district wide. That's really the thing that's happening right now with AI. I blocked an AI URL today because there were, you know, students exploring potentially inappropriate chats. And it's like, well, we'll just block that one because we have a tool that we can use, not with younger kids yet, but there will be. Google's working on a version that has the appropriate safeguards for our younger students as well.
So real quick, and I think we can probably move on, but Cody, do you see value in this tool associated with IEPs? And development, we are limited in staff capacity, so does this create efficiencies around developing IEPs?
Yeah, we've used a little bit different tool. We've used Magic School AI or whatever to help generate accommodations and different disability impact statements and just improve efficiency. But of course, it's got to be individualized to the student and there's got to be a person making those decisions, but it can help with efficiency.
Can help analyze to ensure that, you know, services are aligned with goals, that goals are well written. So yeah, I mean, you can paste the text right in there, and also you can upload all kinds of media, you know, not just PDFs or whatever.
Real quick, transportation, did anything positive come out from the person that ran into our bus?
Bus is fixed, it's back at bus yard, waiting for the stop arm camera to be replaced. It has been shipped, so it should be here within the week. And the bus will be back on route. I don't know anything about the insurance or anything.
Then all went through our insurance. And then our insurance will try to recover.
Okay,
$75 million, I heard.
it's coming back.
Yeah, no, is that a little high? Just a little bit.
7,500, hopefully. Probably more than that to fix the bus, right? Good, okay. So I'd asked Jason to put together a summary for us in his report of the impacts of the legislative session in sort of plain English, but now I understand it's AI speak. But I really appreciate that.
Notice that I referenced at the top, Notebook LM.
I didn't
That's
know
what that
meant.
means.
Now I
After
know.
Russell's presentation, you do.
Yeah, I do, yeah. Yeah, so I appreciated that.
So in this case, what I did was just to demonstrate an example of how it can work is I put Idaho Ed News' article on this, which they had most of this information, but I didn't want to just trust the reporter. And that's the kind of thing I think we can teach our kids is that, so I reference the state code, you know, the new state code, which, you know, if you've read any state code, it's very time consuming to study and then had to analyze both of them. And then it was too long for the purposes tonight. So then I asked it to shorten it to what we have here. And so you can find a lot more information, obviously, than this. I wanted it to be concise for you.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of that, it would be helpful to have Idaho State Code around education in there so that that's where I would find it useful. Yeah, in our policy. Yeah. So any questions around that or other things in the report?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. URLs, YouTube, audio files. spreadsheets and things like that too. And I haven't taken the time to explore that, but I would wonder, analyze this budget document versus this one, what are the differences? And I'm pretty sure
I was
That'd
wondering
be
of
fun.
it would be.
Alumni Foundation, the link just went to like a website. Is there a purpose that you were trying to invoke?
There is a purpose. Go to my, what I wanted to recognize them for, I did just link their website, but what I wanted to recognize, and Corey put in her board report, if you noticed, she put a link to the program for our foundation event. We just found out today that we had our spring social and Hall of Fame induction Saturday at the Elks in Lewiston. And today, Don Ebert reported the foundation brought in over $27,000 at that event. So that's, I think, more than double what we've done in the past. A big part of that was scholarships. Some of it was specific donations for the mural project that we've been talking about on the wall of the gym coming in from the outside. But it was pretty amazing turnout. And so anyway, that's what that was about. It's very cool.
Good.
So I just wanted to recognize that those people put in a lot of work. Corey as well, for our Timberline students. They've
And-
donated, the foundation so far has written checks in excess of 50,000 directly to the school. So $50,000 has come to the school, and additional 25,000 in scholarships. That's all foundation raised revenue. And then we've also facilitated an additional $50,000 worth of scholarships from different private entities, the Nelson Fromelt Scholarship we've talked about here before in the past. So,
Nice.
that's making a significant difference for Timberline.
No, I think it's great. And the one thing that we learned is that we need to drive the improvements if it's infrastructure or facilities that their money goes to, and it's not them. So I think if with this successful fundraising event, maybe start thinking about, do we have a priority list of projects that we may reach out in partnership with them on?
We do. We would, so the foundation can't make decisions about, capital projects or
Right.
things like that. It has to be approved by the principal as well as the superintendent. Corey participates in those meetings, and so do I most of the time. I've missed a couple this year, but I'm there most of the time. So the school district isn't really going to drive their projects or ideas, but we're not going to approve something that doesn't, align with, the building and district, goals.
It'd be good to present them with a list if this is what we know our needs are, right? So they can think about, are they interested in supporting what those needs are?
Yeah, the partnership's always good. And that's what Corey and I do,
Okay,
along
cool.
with the foundation board, is we sit down and we brainstorm, we solicit ideas from the staff, consider all projects. We don't do a lot of capital projects because they're usually too expensive. And a lot of them are frankly, district responsibilities, and the foundation wants to be about doing extra things that, we can't afford, so. Anyway, the event was really positive, and a lot of appreciation for our staff and some of the activities they're doing. They referenced the fact that we purchased the foundation purchased drones, and what was the other specific? Thank you. Archery. That was referenced that, just last week, both things were happening, stuff like that. So really positive reflection on the school up there. So
Archery from the standpoint of as part of a PE or, oh, great. So they bought the stuff. Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah.
if you look through that program, it's a crazy list of what's happened. So it's pretty cool.
Excellent.
And that's in Corey's report.
I'm sorry, I just got it.
I also wanted to recognize our academic leaders because they helped prepare all the training for Friday's PLC work. So that's Cody and the building principals. And then Russell helped us with technology. So that was my other appreciation.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good
Okay.
job.
Carmen, do we have any public comment?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to discussion and action items. The Timberline power outage school closure announcement and need to approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Timberline power outage closure on 4/17/25.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'm just curious. It's nice out. Lots of sunshine. Hmm?
Well, let me see one.
I see no-
131 and 417,
I thought we approved the one
I thought there was
thirty-one.
one,
or is there another one
there was
that's
another
not?
one
Yeah, they were.
just right before that.
There was. Sorry. There was April 7th.
April 7th.
April 7th and April
We
17th.
didn't have,
It's,
think we
yeah,
already-
it's not on our list.
so
131 is just, it says used for example only. I think that's just an example
Oh.
on there. It's not actually a date.
might be the exact same, but- so,
Well, we can do the 17th tonight and then get the next one, because it's not in here.
No,
Do you want to
So-
amend the
well,
motion?
We still,
I don't think it has to be in there necessarily. What we have to submit, we do submit that document. We have to submit board minutes that show approval of emergency closures. So
I don't think it's
So we wanna do them
specifically
both,
says
we
the
can-
date on the agenda.
It
so
doesn't, it just says Timberline
Yeah.
power outage.
So
School
what's the date
closures.
of the other one?
4/7.
4/7 and 4/17.
And was that a full day as well? Or partial day?
Optional.
Partial day. Okay, I'll make an amendment to my motion that we approve the power outage emergency closure for 4/7/25 and 4/17/25 at Timberline High School, Timberline School.
I'll
As
second that.
Discussion? Is there a safety protocol that we didn't stay in?
No, I'll speak to the process a little bit. What happens typically is the power goes out and somebody notifies me. And then the first thing I do after, that notification from the school is contact either Avista or Clearwater Power. Most of the time I can get a hold of a local contact and they can give an ETA pretty quickly. We haven't had long power outages in quite a while. Mostly they've been short. So we do not immediately close and call everybody and head for home. Last time we had a power outage before this one, we knew right away it was likely going to be pretty long, and we didn't have food prepared for secondary students at that time. It just happened to be because of the menu. This time, it took a while to get notification. Actually, I didn't get notification before I had to make the decision. It's just that we were out of water and it was going long enough that it was time to call it. So power went out around 10:40 and we sent them home at 12:15, which is reasonable. All of our bus drivers weren't on the hill anyway. We could not have left any sooner than that as far as all three
Right.
buses. So what I do is get a hold of them. They usually will give us an ETA or say, okay, we're getting dispatched right now. I think I texted our guy before he probably was dispatched because it happens pretty quickly. We know quickly when the power's out. And then they'll give me an update. And if they think it's only going to be 3 hours, we're going to stay in school if it's the safest thing for students. And oftentimes staying in school would be the safest thing for students. We have food, shelter, in daylight hours, et cetera. The main problem, and also if it's warm enough, you got to remember most of our kids are going to go home to no power also. In this case, some of them would have had power, but anything on the WEIP side would not have. So if it's the safest thing, we're going to hunker down as long as we can. Once we know an ETA and if it's going to be an extended time, then we're going to send them home. The main issue is water aside from heat. So our water runs out and then, the toilets are only going to last so long. There are a lot of toilets, but
Right.
the the pump house is up on the football field. So we have gravity water for a while. And then it just depends.
And then you don't.
As soon as, as soon as the power goes out, then, everybody has to use the facilities all at the same time
Sure.
sometimes.
Okay.
So
I did
that's
not
the
realize
basic
the
process, but
water's huge, right?
water's the main one, yeah. And we don't have generator backup. So that would change that.
Mhm.
If we had a full-on generator, we wouldn't close it all. But it's always, you just have to evaluate, the safety of our students. That's first and foremost, and our staff. And then how long is that outage going to be? And it's
Yeah.
the best way to address it. And they're not all the same.
Think about water. That's great to know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was in this last one, that was the main issue. If we would have had water, we could have stayed with there's emergency lights. They're better in some places than others in that building. The elementary school's really pretty good. Secondary, not as good, but
No policy.
You had discussion, I don't think with.
Oh,
Haven't
I'm
voted
sorry.
yet.
That was discussion. And
Do we
then
need to vote?
Orig-
We had a motion
All those
and
in
a second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Sorry, got carried away in the moment. No policy.
yeah, we do.
Got lots, don't we?
And yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
I didn't realize I didn't link the tracker.
It was sent in a separate.
Oh,
email.
that's right.
Yeah.
Want me to reshare it, or do you
Find
guys
it.
have it handy?
Find it here.
I got it.
So click April 1st read.
It's first. Thought it was just grammar.
Yeah. This is why you said if you wanted to get a jump on them.
There's a few things that
Oh.
we'll probably want to talk about. Most of it's just grammar changes, but not all of it. So first of all, in row 114, we have the protocols that we were just talking about. I'm going to click that link and make sure that it's the one can you tell if that's what we were actually updating? Or did we make any updates in there?
I did. I completely retyped the whole thing.
I mean, tonight, did we?
No, we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, we didn't get to that one.
Okay, so this is the first one.
But this isn't it. Unless you put it in this format.
We didn't talk about it in the work session. We have a copy of it.
No, correct. I
Yeah.
know, but this is not the format of what we would approve under a first read. It doesn't have the edits.
I think, go back to your tracker for a second.
Okay.
And the one on the right.
Okay.
Try, there you go.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Not that it showed any.
No, it's same.
I don't think so. Let me look. It's in my drive.
I see some typo kind of errors in it.
Well, then it very well could be. Or two.
Are you correcting the errors, Brian?
No, no.
Okay, are you on the one linked to the
Yeah, that's-
policy tracker?
That's the one that you emailed us.
Okay, then it is. Okay.
So what was changing on it then?
Now, everything that we talked about at
Oh,
the
gotcha.
last work
Mhm.
session at the
Gotcha.
library. I did not do it in track changes because I
Rewrote it.
rewrote it.
Mhm.
It probably needs to be reviewed though. I see a couple errors in there.
One important note is the public comment section.
Change.
This protocol is in alignment with the new law just because it references the policy. Our policy won't be, though. We'll have to revise the policy after the legislation takes effect.
So maybe for the sake of time, it was sent out to everybody. And it's linked in that goals and strategic plan folder. Maybe if you take a look at it and we can attack it next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why it thinks board is spelled correctly like that. Probably
Okay.
that artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's just me, bad
No, but
typing.
it's okay with it is what I mean.
Oh, I see.
Probably clicked ignore or something.
Okay, 13, 15.
So they changed the language here. If you open that policy, you can see that in these, this is straight from ISBA and it shows the changes. It's emphasizing career pathway.
You know, one of the questions I had around that new legislation too, that would eliminate senior projects and push it towards apprenticeships. What if the community doesn't have enough employers that are interested or?
It's not just apprenticeships,
Oh.
it's just a career-based experience.
Mhm.
And so that could be, career research, it could be presentations to other students on careers, but it has to have a career emphasis and
Mhm.
major component.
Okay, so not an apprenticeship,
It could be
right?
an apprenticeship or an
Not solely.
internship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we would just envelop this 13, 15 into our.
Yeah, it's just changing those words that are changed there. I mean,
Just a couple
it's
changes,
all
yeah. Mhm.
almost all of these are. You can read the summaries in column C and then look at the differences. I can we can open them one by one.
Yeah.
It's just 1510 is spelling and grammar.
I was thinking about our policy.
They changed 2435. It just corrects language from different terminology that's more current in alignment with updated legislation.
So this is first read. So for the second read, then we'll actually see these in our policy view.
The only way we can do that now is just to go to those page numbers. That's why I referenced the page numbers for you in column A.
Mhm.
We won't have significant differences in most. The one that you see on row 128, that's policy 2470. We don't have that policy. It's recommended. So that one, I looked back through the policy tracker and in 2022, we tabled that policy. So that would be something that we should spend some time on now or in the future, at least deciding if we want to have that policy or not.
What happened?
Click April again.
It was in April.
Somebody's got edit access.
It wasn't me.
I was trying to click on it, but it didn't.
It's gone.
We could
Everyone has an access, I don't want to.
Yay.
Yeah,
so
she's like, do
file
me a favor.
version is where we need to go.
scan the crowd, look for the red face.
Yeah, it's awfully red over there. Okay. Okay.
Well, I was really struggling when that happened to us a couple other times. I'm like, what? I'm losing my mind.
Okay.
Wasn't
Yeah, it's
3297, was that one that we had? We don't have a policy for yet either.
Correct. We don't have a policy on that one. We kind of just avoided that one.
Mhm.
We have for,
We were waiting to see what legislation did, I thought.
Yeah,
well, yeah, and they just
I'm happy to continue avoiding it.
eliminated, right?
So this is a recommended policy, not a required.
That's correct. Last time we talked about this policy, we felt like we had other policies that ensure that, we're going to have a safe, work and learning environment, no harassment, et cetera, and that we probably didn't need to enact this one.
This is, Becca, we've seen some wordsmiths changes before, but this is to an extreme.
on which one?
All of them. I'm at 3518.
Oh, okay. That's not a current policy either.
What's extreme about this? I'm not understanding.
They're editing. No, not about any one particular wordsmithing. It's all of this has been editing and wordsmithing to an extreme. Somebody spent a lot of time. Yeah, that's what I didn't mean extreme as in
I thought you,
undesirable or
well, I meant like, you weren't referencing significant changes to a policy or no? You're just saying overall.
yeah, like
I understand.
the foreign travel,
They cleaned up a lot of different
Yeah, cleaned
policies, probably because there wasn't there have not been major updates. So they spent their time cleaning up language and a lot, or maybe they used AI to align it with current code.
yeah.
Wow, would not surprise me.
And they're all first read.
Yep.
Correct. If you wanted to table any of them, we could, be done with that part of it. If we knew that we weren't gonna enact one of these or more of them, I could strike them through and narrow it. If not, we can just keep on.
Do we need any, has any of the ones been recommended that we don't have right now? Like-
Those ones down at the bottom that have an NA,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have any of those in policy.
Has there been an identified need to add any of them?
They just come from ISBA, as their recommendation. There's no district need identified.
Okay.
I don't personally see any issue with any of the ones that have page reference for our current policy. Side by side view, to look and see if we had any specific nuances that fit our district better within those policies. And be prepared for the second read and action. Would be my thought.
Yeah, I think the question was just, do we want to strike through any of them that we don't currently have, so we don't have to
Any
not
of
even
these
continue?
recommended policies, is there anything that we don't want to move forward with? It's like 3297. I mean, they're combining
different concerns.
3297, we already kind of established that we didn't want to move forward just yet on,
Right.
or didn't have a need to move forward on.
Right.
Well, I don't think we do now with the legislative direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think not. Want me to get rid of that one?
Yep,
Yeah, I don't see the point in
I'm
that
looking
one.
at 2470F.
Our harassment and bullying policy is still in effect regardless.
Mhm.
We don't need to be reminded of it in the different policies.
So this is the self-directed learning status. What would be the benefit of considering adoption of a self-directed learner?
Self-directed learner allows the school to designate someone as a self-directed learner and receive attendance. We can already do things like this. We have students, that might be medically homebound or, different kind of things, but it's really collecting attendance. It's designating them as such and then counting them as present. We don't have a real need for that right now because we don't have it. It doesn't happen regularly enough to for legitimate reasons to improve our attendance.
Mhm.
I think some districts might be looking to kind of take advantage of, everybody's a self-directed learner, so we have,
So
to-
everybody's here all the time. and
Right.
in attendance.
for funding purposes, but
Mhm.
it hasn't yet risen to a large
Okay, so
need for us.
do you guys want to keep that on the table? It's been tabled since 22.
I think we continue with that.
You guys see any need for?
And we may see new policy on that I'm not sure with new legislation. I don't know though.
3297, we're gonna keep that, dump that. The opioid overdose. You feel a need for that?
That's the one I was in.
I'd like to get Casey's opinion on it.
We have Narcan in all of our buildings. I think. Jim was nodding. I wasn't sure about the academy.
So it must be addressed in other aspects of other policies then. If we already have the
Guess so.
Narcan available,
I would guess so, but I don't know.
maybe we should leave that one on there and touch base with Casey.
Yeah, and I can look at the
Yeah.
policy and see if we have.
We can't keep
Our
it big.
employees
But
trained.
we
I know,
can-
we can't.
When I can recall the discussions and implementation of the Narcan, we did learn that it couldn't hurt anybody. We had training,
Right.
et cetera. But I don't know about policy.
Well, we have EpiPens. Excuse me.
I would say since we have it, it's worthy of a
Yeah.
closer look.
Yeah, I need to look at that one.
Mhm.
Spend some more time on it.
Okay, let's keep that one. 3523 head lice. The springtime event. It's about this time, isn't it? I always assimilate it with ticks and they come out when the leaves start coming out of
There's some
the
wood
brush.
knocked on over here.
I always associate it with fair.
Well,
With the fair,
fall?
it's usually fair time.
Oh. Oh, okay. So I would ask Casey this one too. Do
Yeah.
we need a policy associated with that? If we could ask her to take a look and give her, give her
I'll put a
thoughts.
note there.
Okay. Mhm. Right here. Is it just a new number?
It added the piece about releasing information. Let's see, authorization. I thought there was a. Oh, it just says it
know.
renumerates.
I think
it
this
does
is
not-
we have a different form. We don't use this form, right?
Yeah, you can see April's changes there.
Mhm.
Is it? I think we just have a different form, maybe? Is that why it says NA?
That we don't have one. NA means we don't have that particular form in policy right now.
But we have an equivalent.
I don't know.
Is ours 5730? And they just.
Well, we
Oh,
do
let's
because we do
check.
background checks on certain volunteers.
Right.
So, and they,
We definitely have to do that.
and so they
That's
have to
what this
authorize
is.
that they can release the information on the background check back to the district, right?
Russell, we need our
That's logical.
policy in that notebook.
What?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just filled one out. It is, I'm pretty
I think
sure.
it would be good.
I don't know if it says specifically release of information, but there's forms that you sign that says you can send this information back to the district.
Let's look at that one too.
Yeah, for you to have them, we don't need another one.
Yeah, I think that
Right,
covered.
okay. Do we have second reads?
No.
No.
Says that JSD 171 policy includes documents that serve the purpose of a release of information and agreement for volunteers. 4600 F1 is a volunteer application that requires them to provide that information and sign a statement of understanding. Keeps going. Additionally, there's a separate volunteer code of confidentiality.
You're just showing off, Jason.
No, I'm just trying to find information that I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we might want to look at it because, I mean,
Like it.
it might better structure our volunteer.
It's pretty simple. It's like 3
Yeah.
papers that they
Mhm.
fill out.
Ready to move on?
I
Okay. Certified contract renewal,
There's no action taken then.
Nope, just awareness.
On the policy.
On the
read.
policy, no, it's the
Policy.
first read,
Yeah.
no action
No
taken.
actions. So we approve can I get a motion on the contract list?
It's not an action item. It's not an action.
Oh, just awareness?
Should have been.
I was gonna say it should have been an action,
Yeah, it should have been.
because they have to be active by June 1st, don't they?
Wow.
The contracts?
No,
Where's Farah when we need her? I thought I saw her snooping around here earlier. Sarah, our certified contract renewal, is there a drop dead date we're approaching?
We have to have the contracts issued by the end of June.
End of June, not June 1st, okay.
But it's, once everyone leaves, after the first week of June, it's really difficult.
Okay, that's why I had June 1st in my mind.
Yeah.
July 1.
So we could do it at May's meeting.
So we have time. If we do it at the May meeting as an action item, will we be okay?
Yes, that would give us time.
Okay. Carmen, could you make sure it's an action item for May?
Yeah, and that was me. I should have had it on there as action item. I don't know why I didn't.
New hires and separations. Corey's not the yellow. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the new hires and separations as presented to include the amendment.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion, is gone? Julie Huffman, our longstanding paraprofessional, is retiring, leaving us. So hopefully they celebrate her in some way here until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain because of a conflict within the new hires and separations.
Motion carries. All right. Unfortunately, we need an executive session. So if I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061 A and B.
I second.
Carmen? Roll call.
Trustee Saint Germain,
Yes.
trustee Craig,
Yes.
trustee Kepke,
Yes.
trustee McIntosh.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes regular business. We'll enter executive session and emerge Okay, we're back from executive. We have no actions from executive item. Is there any input for future agenda items?
So far, you have
Yes.
for future agenda items, add the board vision, mission and goal statement as an action item on the May agenda, and add the 2025-26 certified contract renewal as an action item for next month.
Yep, and we'll have the protocols under the policy for the second read. And
Be ready to go.
motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We'll accept that. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.